Welcome back, everyone, to the Music City Open. This is the PDGA National Tour finale, and we are in the final round out at Mill Ridge Disc Golf Course in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm Sarah Hokom here with Zoe Andike.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us here for this final round. Let's take a look at the reader board. After 3 rounds, we have Haley King out in a pretty decent lead at -12. Macy jumping up to top card at -9. Sarah 7 and Missy 6. I'm excited to see how the action unfolds here for the final round today. Starting on hole 1, it's a short 215 feet par 3. OB lines the left-hand side all the way around and the right-hand side. This is a tricky shot. Players are probably choosing a slower speed mid-range or putter off the tee. Up first, we have Haley King.
Haley went bogey-free until the very last hole yesterday and got all sorts of birdies on this course, starting with this first one. She did get this one yesterday and throwing a zone to a similar position today.
A little bit of a death putt staring straight at OB with a downhill slope.
Velediaz.
Nothing Haley can't conquer. Looks like we've got a little bit of wind out here today, too.
It was a little bit heady, maybe a little left to right.
Macy choosing the sidearm as well.
She's throwing a Justice, so really overstable mid. And she hits the gap, but throws it kind of into the ground, and it kind of trickles over to the right side. She'll have an approach shot to try to save her par.
Sarah, Hokom.
For as short as this hole, it sure is intimidating when you just start the round to try to hit this gap and with enough touch to put it close to the pin. I'm going with a Matrix. Matrix has enough flip up that it should ride straight and not fade down the hill into the OB on the right. But unfortunately, I turned it over and it went OB left.
OB left. Dang it.
Opposite mistakes. Whoops.
Fourth
Not
up.
the way I wanted to start.
Missy.
But it's just the first
Gannon.
hole.
And rounding out our card, we have Missy Gannon. Choosing the backhand, stand still. I believe she's throwing a fierce off the tee here.
Oh, this is her meteor.
Oh, okay.
And a little bit early release. Ping pongs into the gap, and she is just a few feet ahead of the first part of the tee, but now with an open look.
An important approach here, and giving herself a pretty easy putt for the par.
And that was her fierce.
All right. I knew she was going to throw it on this hole.
And Macy with some work to do, kind of deciding whether she's going to throw the sidearm or the backhand. Eventually just goes with her judge backhand.
And putting it very close to the basket as well for her par. And Sarah taking her meter from out of bounds where she went out. Looking to probably safely get it under the basket, or maybe even a little bit of a safe bid here.
Yeah, I am pretty far outside of circle 1, so I'm just laying this up.
Smart golf play indeed. Nobody needs tons of extra strokes on the first hole.
And several of my putts in practice, anytime I didn't actually make the putt from that angle, that hit something and rolled away OB. So I was not trying to go OB again. Macy with a slight miss on the right.
And for Haley's birdie. No problem here.
2 in a row, both days. She gets this one, and now that extends her lead by 2 strokes over Macy and I. Little nervy on that putt too, but it went in, saved the bogey.
Some of that final day top card nerves. Usually takes a couple of holes for players to calm their nerves down and get into their rhythm. One more look here at Haley's drive. On to hole 2. It's a par 4, 573 feet. Quite a bit of elevation loss just to have a pretty steep incline in the second half of the fairway. The basket is completely guarded. You're not able to see it until either the end of your second shot or even your third approach to the basket. Players have got to choose after their drive, depending on where they land, if they're going to take the right side hyzer or the left side gap.
Haley up first, going with her Zeus. She turns it over just a little bit and will be on that right side with a long shot to get to the pin. Missy going with a thrasher. It turns just perfectly over those bushes.
Oh yeah,
And
center cut.
Right in the middle. Really beautiful shot.
And I believe there's typically a bit of headwind on this tee shot.
Macy with a Raider. Just crushing the disc. She throws this really high, still gets the flex, and gets way up the fairway. Still having to navigate those second set of trees, but really in good position to do so. I'm throwing a Vanish. Trying to get as far left as possible to kind of make shorter work of that second shot.
Great position there.
Yeah, the basket is behind all those trees right there.
And as you can see, Haley is lining up the right side for the backhand hyzer.
This is her Vulture going around the outside.
Quite a bit of ground play there, getting up into the circle.
Yeah, looks like she's got 15 or 20 feet left for the birdie.
And Missy is also opting for that right side hyzer shot.
And going back to her thrasher, she throws this disc very well and very frequently.
Also in the circle?
Just outside.
Just outside there.
But Missy is known for her circle 2 putting. I have a nice look at this gap. I'm throwing a Pyro.
And even though clipping a little bit of tree foliage there, still getting...
I'm edge of the circle.
Edge of the circle.
Yeah. Obstructed, though, in that bush. Macy up next. Throwing a Felon around the corner.
Wow. That almost went in the basket.
Spikes it right in.
Parked for the tap-in.
That'll
birdie.
feel good after kind of that bogey on the last hole. Now she doesn't even have to putt and gets the birdie. So Missy from about 40 feet.
Just a little right chain tickle there, but not quite able to capitalize. From a knee, Sarah. Oh, so close.
It felt good out of the hand.
Yeah, it looked good.
But from a knee to an elevated pin, it was, can't make them all. I mean, maybe you can. Some people do.
Haley.
Speaking of making them all.
Does. Yeah. So 2 birdies in a row there to start for King.
Extending her lead now. I guess once Macy taps this in, it'll be 5 strokes. And Missy to come back for par.
Great putt.
Confident stroke.
Very comfortable tap in here for the birdie.
Take a look at King's stroke here. That little late move by the fingertips. Connects with the chains. Extending her lead. On to hole 3.
And hole 3 is a par 4, 654 feet from the tee pad. We've got trees lining the entire fairway on the left that are like a natural OB, but a pretty big open field there for the tee shot. Players are trying to land their drive a little bit more on the left-hand side so that they can approach that gap getting into the basket.
Haley up first, throwing a Zeus. She kind of missed this tee shot yesterday and makes a good correction. She threw it a little high yesterday, so makes a correction for a little bit lower and is fine right out in the middle of the fairway. We'll have a look for birdie after her next shot. And then Macy.
Wow.
She seriously has so much power, and it seems so effortless.
Yeah.
I'm really impressed.
Good wind read, great disc choice.
And that was her Raider.
Okay.
Once again, the same one she threw on the last hole. And Missy also going back to the Thrasher. Puts a nice move on it. That disc flips up really well for her.
And she's on the good side of the fairway there to easily approach that gap.
And I'm throwing a Trace.
And great shot out the gap distance-wise.
Yeah, that'll be good enough to get me a look on this next shot. Really plays to a sidearm because it's pretty severe turn to the right once you pass that set of bushes. Came up just a little short, but circle 2 look at it. And Haley gonna go with her sidearm. This is a Predator.
Excellent execution there for her sidearm.
Gets it all the way in. Actually, this is her Zeus, excuse me. She went Zeus on this one.
Looking like a pretty easy birdie putt there. And Missy going with the backhand turnover, having to put a lot of turn on this and kind of fades out into the super thick rough right next to the green.
And she is in jail. She's not far from the basket, but likely there's no line to actually get the disc in the basket from there.
Macy with a sidearm approach to the basket. And I believe
That was her harp.
Okay.
But she did end up in that right side. She needed to push that shot a little farther left. So she doesn't have much over there.
Yeah, as you can see, I mean, the camera almost can't even see her. She's so protected by the rough.
I think this is some of the thickest rough we've played in all season.
I would agree with that.
So all she has is ability to pitch out. And she's going to give the basket a little run from circle 2. This is about 60 feet, slightly uphill.
For the birdie. Very powerful putt, full extension, and great job there for Hokom cashing in the birdie.
Got the eraser out on my scorecard to get rid of that first hole bogey. Missy resigning to pitch up to the basket.
Really lucky to have even just that window out of there, too. So she'll take her par.
And Macy to clean up the bogey after the unfortunate second shot that went into the rough. And Haley goes 3 in a row.
Wow,
I think she wants to win this one.
Turkey to start.
Extending her lead now to 7 over second place.
Came out swinging.
There's no catching her if she just keeps birdieing.
Yeah. Take a look at this putt again. Circle 2 stats going up for Sarah Hokom there. What a gorgeous putt.
Felt good to make that one. And we will be right back after a word from our sponsors.
When I walk up to the tee, I have these game plans. I think I'm going to land in these same areas every single time, but you never know. Having the Bushnell rangefinder, no matter where I land, gives me that extra level of confidence.
I'm Garrett Girthy. People know me as Double G. I've been making Double G craft jerky since I was 16 years old.
Whether I'm at home or on the road, Double G craft jerky is the snack that I go for.
I've actually found myself eating Double G craft jerky on my long drives to the next tournament.
We all know Double G's got a big arm, but he's also got a big heart. Every bag of Double G jerky that you buy supports children's disc golf and goes to a great cause.
You can find Double G craft jerky at doublegjerky.com.
And we are back here on hole 4. It's a par 4, 623 feet away. Completely lined on the left side, OB, all the way through the green. And then on the right side, if you were to punch through those trees, there is a fence line that counts as OB. Pretty much an open hole off the drive, entering into a pretty small gap there to get to the green.
We had a tailwind on this hole yesterday and today. So it's going to give the players extra carry, but also it's going to drop the disc and push it more left than they're used to. Haley makes the adjustment. She's right in the middle of the fairway with a spike hyzer.
Great distance there on that shot.
I'm going to throw a trace.
Excellent shot and good wind read as well, getting yourself up on the right-hand side of the fairway. Makes it a little easier to approach.
Absolutely, especially for a lefty line. Missy up next, going with a thrasher. This one is a little bit more stable than her normal thrasher. Puts her up on the right side. It's a good play. And Macy up next, going back to that Raider that she's been throwing so well.
Crushed.
She does, and just kind of tickles that right side of the rough, but she is in the short grass.
Everybody staying safe today on the top card.
Yeah, we had 2 people out of bounds yesterday. Mm-hmm. So Missy, now with her thrasher, looks like she was peering that gap up until that very last pencil tree.
Dang.
Kicks her into the woods, but she's still in good position just to run that birdie.
And still in bounds, importantly. There's like a little carrot of OB there on the left that comes into a really narrow space and then fans back out.
I miss my shot right and kick into the right rough. Haley up next. This is a Predator. Gets a big fade, hits the tree to keep her safe.
Yes.
And she's close to the pin for another birdie. We'll see if she can make that putt. Macy up next, throwing a trust. Misses it right, but she kicks back into the fairway. Should be able to get up and down from there.
A couple of really friendly trees there for both Haley and Macy. The kicks were good. This looks like a pretty tight spot to be.
Yeah, this is not a good place to be. You don't want to lay up to the rough on the right.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to hit a gap.
Well done. And great ground action parked underneath the pin. Gonna recover for the par there.
Speaking of recovery, Macy just needs to pitch this close.
Nice and easy does it.
I really like this hole, the combination of a big open fairway with OB, but then a tight wooded gap on the second half of the hole. Missy from the edge of circle 2 makes a run at it. She'll have a little bit of work on the comebacker. And Haley, our leader, crushing the souls of her competition with yet another birdie look. And she makes it.
Wow.
Going to 16 down, doubling the score of her next closest competitor.
Turkey plus birdie.
There's no stopping Haley on this birdie train.
Definitely on a tear here. Came out amped up and excited for this final round.
She also won the very first national tour of the year at Texas States this year, which was her first national tour win. And now she is trying to cap off her season of the national tour with another. Macy in for par.
And just a quick little cleanup there for Sarah. A couple of really great pars or good up and downs, and then again, this amazing birdie by Haley King.
Putting with her Lunas.
And we are on to hole 5. It's a par 3, just a little 242-foot hole, completely open until you get to basically just outside of circle 1, this very small gap to get into the basket. This is, again, I mentioned it yesterday, kind of the disc golfer's dream shot to throw straight into such a small gap. But it's no easy feat.
Haley up first. She's throwing a Hornet.
Wow.
Gets
Crazy
a good
tree
kick.
Yeah.
Yeah, great kick. I'm up next throwing a Crave. And I throw it too low. Continue to struggle on this hole that seems very easy, but it is definitely not easy for me.
Well, easy, quote unquote, but something that can easily be overthought by a lot of players out here today.
Missy going with a buzz. She pulls it right into the rough. Kind of trickles through, but it'll be a tough look from there.
Yeah, it looks a little blocked.
There's also some trees in there that have thorns that are several inches long.
Ugh.
So it is nasty in the rough on this stretch. Macy also pulling it a little bit right with her trust in a similar position, but kicks forward.
Throwing it with so much power that she actually breaks through there, which is rare. Just an approach here for Sarah, and landing nicely next to the basket.
So Missy winding through the rough to try to get to her disc. And you can see she's just got nothing. Barely getting out, but an easy third shot for par. And Haley
For the birdie.
to birdie as many holes as we have played. 5 in a row, goes to 17 under par.
5 for 5. Let's go, Haley King. For all of our viewers out there, I know you're getting excited. That many birdies on the card. Whew.
Macy also making good on the birdie, trying to keep up with Haley. I don't know if there's any keeping up with her at this point.
And a few tap-ins here for par.
I keep thinking about this hole, like, what could I do differently to get to get into that gap? But
Maybe just think less.
probably. So it was playing as one of the easier holes on the course, 53% birdie and only 6% bogey.
And here we are at the island hole, number 6. It's a par 3, 289 feet with a bit of a downhill elevation loss. You know, some players are choosing the sidearm, spiking it in, letting the disc do the work, or for a backhand, slower speed to carry and potentially just planning on the par or a bonus birdie bid. If players do not land on the island, they must proceed to the drop zone with a 1-stroke penalty.
Haley up first with a zone. She parked this yesterday with this same line. And
Wow.
And enjoys another short putt for birdie.
Sneaking through what is usually acting as a wall of trees. Amazing.
Macy up next, also going with the sidearm, choosing a felon. Playing it a lot wider and just barely grabbing that inbound lie.
You can see the spotter here couldn't even give the flag until he got up next to the disc. Very cool.
I'm throwing a shock. And yesterday I aired it out a little bit high, and today I threw it low and also proceeding to the drop zone. It's kind of frustrating to be so proficient at sidearm and miss the sidearm hole both rounds. Like, I don't even understand. I needed to practice this one a few more times. Missy going with her meteor, looking for a turn around the corner, turns it too quick and finds a gap.
Sneaks in.
She was feeling like she got a little bit of good karma on that one.
Absolutely. From the drop zone, Sarah Hokom. Oh, I like that approach. It was like a little bid and very safe, had good chances, lands safely next to the basket.
That was an envy made so famous by James Conrad.
Envies like to seek the basket.
They do. Chain seekers. And Macy with a long look at the edge of circle 2. Little stepper.
Exactly. Jinx, I was going to say the exact same thing. I like her little step through putt.
Missy with a bonus birdie. And Haley King, our leader.
Birdieing again. 6 for
Wow.
6. Unbelievable.
Gets the 6-pack to start.
2 turkeys in a row.
Double turkey. Gobble, gobble. And I'm going to take the bogey once again. Someday I'll learn how to throw a sidearm properly.
Let's check out this sneaky little gap with the meteor that Missy Gannon gets.
Oh, she doesn't like it. Uh-oh. But it works. We'll be right back.
Passion is more than fiery emotion. It feeds the spark to start your day. It fuels your obsessions. It inspires your dreams. Passion challenges your fears, and it repeatedly bathes you in sweat until you are transformed into a new, better you. Disc golf isn't just your passion. It's ours too.
You've seen them in the hands of professionals, helping them compete at the highest level. Whale Sacks is a female-owned small business, handmade in the USA. We are dedicated to outstanding grip for all disc golfers.
And we are back here on hole 7, par 4, 452 feet away. Got to get out just a relatively easy but small gap there at the beginning to a pretty big wide open fairway, then to make a crazy right-hand turn through either the short or the long gap, depending on which gap players choose to approach the basket.
Yeah, I think that short gap is about 250 and the longer gap is pushing about 300. We saw Haley go for the long gap yesterday, but most of the players are choosing the short gap. With that Zeus in her hand, I'm assuming she's going to go for the long gap once again. She's kind of right in between. She'll have to make a choice.
Yep. Little tweener shot there.
Missy up next with a thrasher. Cuts it a little tight.
But landing just short of the short gap, nonetheless, should give her a pretty decent look at it.
She might be taking the hyzer route over the trees next. She actually lost a disc yesterday on this hole in the middle of the round and had to go rethrow.
Oh, bummer.
So that rarely happens, but man, when it does, it can really affect not only your mental game at that moment, but then the rest of your round if you don't have the disc that you're planning to throw. I'm throwing a photon to the short gap. Macy, this is her felon.
Making easy work of that short gap and parking it next to the basket.
Kind of showing off her sidearm skills as well. She's a really solid player on both ways, both backhand and sidearm. Missy going to take the sidearm route. This is her Raptor.
And a great shot. So Haley's lining up that wide outside gap, sneaking through a little tricky spot there in the trees.
Leaves herself a little putt, but she's got a birdie look once again. 7 in a row are possible here still for Haley King. I'm throwing a reactor.
Great shot through the gap. Great job, top card on hole 7. Everybody has a birdie look.
It is playing as the second easiest hole on the course. And Haley for birdie to go 7 in a row.
No way. She
Hits
is human.
Yeah, it hits the band, but not going to cost her a bogey. She will lose a stroke to most of the card, though, as I assume these tap-ins are going to be quite routine.
Great birdie there for Macy as well.
And Macy now is 8 strokes behind King.
Getting herself into the double digits, though, there. That's pretty good.
Yeah, you know the course design is pretty good when the top scores are ending at about a handful or more over par or under par. I really like that scoring separation and ability to birdie some of the holes out of the course.
I agree with that. The design and the way that the pars were set out here at Mill Ridge were very, very good. On to hole 8. It is the par 5, 860 feet away. The fairway is completely lined with OB here in the first half of it. And then, of course, the tree line creating a natural OB. Players are trying to place themselves just in front of that gap so that they have a decent second drive approach. This is where the fairway becomes tighter on both sides, natural OB, leading out into yet the second gap to try to approach the green.
And then the green is just like tucked over here on the right side and on a mound. Mm-hmm. And there was wind out on this part of the course both days. Missy, up first with the Thrasher.
Ooh, right out of her hands. She does not like it. Didn't quite have the height she desired.
And this is a penalizing OB. She doesn't get a ton of distance off the tee on this very difficult hole, playing as one of the more difficult holes on the course. Macy putting up high after making the correction from what Missy did, and she gets it way up there in a good position.
Great position there.
I'm throwing a trace, really just concerned about clearing the OB.
Plenty of clearance there, looking good.
And Haley up next with a Zeus.
Great distance and great placement way up the fairway.
And Haley known for her distance, and then you can just see how far Macy's throwing when you really compare the two. I mean, Macy's got Haley distance. Missy up there pitching to where Macy and Haley threw their tee shots. And I'm throwing a photon, trying to get it pretty far to the left and forward. I am not taking the traditional fairway.
I like this play. A lot more open there on the non-traditional fairway.
It's a little bit more difficult to get the birdie from the outer fairway. We'll see Macy also choosing this outer left fairway. The birdie is more difficult, but the par seems to be more guaranteed.
Mm-hmm. Haley lining up the traditional fairway, trying to hyzer around this corner into or even through the gap. Wow, through the gap again, just like yesterday.
And she was the only one to birdie this hole yesterday, and it looks like she has set herself up to try to get the birdie once again. Missy now on her 4th, trying to recover from that OB shot. I mean, it's almost guaranteed she's going to get a bogey from there, but bogey is the best she could probably do, and she is making great work of what she has left on this hole.
And up and around the tree wall here for Sarah.
Throwing a trace and get myself about 150 feet away.
Looks like Macy is choosing a little bit of a turnover here. Up and over.
This shot, she had no look at the basket. She still doesn't know where it's going to land, but she ends up behind the basket just outside the circle.
Wow. Great trust.
Wow, yeah. Throwing a shot that high is so hard to judge how far it's going to flex, where it's going to come down, but Macy's showing us that it is possible. Missy kind of shorted that a bit, but she'll have a putt to try to save her bogey.
And a great approach there. Almost a little bit of a run.
Yep, that's that envy again. And this is for Eagle by Haley King.
Definitely giving it a bid and landing just behind the basket. This looks like it's just outside of the circle here.
Yeah, and this is for birdie.
Oh, so close.
So Macy, even though she took the wider fairway, she still gave herself the birdie look. And Missy to save bogey. Really well played after that first shot.
Definitely a good bogey save there for Gannon.
This hole has had a lot of victims this weekend with the difficulty. And King showing us how to play it both days in a row. Birdie.
Excellent job there for Haley King. And a nice putt there for Sarah, taking the par.
Macy also with the par. And that puts King up by 9 strokes after the 8th hole. This is turning out to be quite a blowout.
On to our final hole of the front half here. Hole 9, par 3, 355 feet. A little bit of elevation loss here, and what is, for this course, a friendlier fairway, a little bit wider. Straight shot out the gap, hyzering towards the basket. Again, 355 feet, playing more like 320. Players can get themselves in there for the birdie bid.
Haley up first. Looking to get her, 8th birdie in 9 holes?
Putting her Zeus way up in the air for the hyzer.
Comes up a little short, but she'll be in circle 2. Macy with all the power in the world, going with that Raider.
Getting it way up the fairway.
And she'll be at the edge of circle 1, looking at birdie. I'm going to throw a trace here. And not playing this one for birdie.
Getting yourself into the open look there, though, for the easy par.
About 150 feet to the pin from there. Missy going back to her trusty Thrasher.
I'm getting way up the fairway as well, also just inside of circle 2. For the approach.
And another envy shot.
Right next to the basket.
This is Haley's look for birdie.
Probably about 75 feet away. A nice,
giving it a bid.
Yeah, nice gentle stroke there.
Was really close. Good height. Missy with a similar look. She putts with the Challenger SS. That SS gives it a little more glide.
Oh, and she thought it was in just like I did. Barely missing low.
Macy from about 40 feet.
And just left. Good stroke nonetheless. We'll have a couple of pars to clean up here.
Shout out to Katrina Allen, Paige Pierce, and Kat Murch for getting this birdie on the day. Macy to save the par.
No problem here. Haley King also in for par. And Missy doing the tap out. Pars all around here for top card on hole 9. And it's been an exciting first half. We've seen a lot of birdies here this morning.
Macy's drive. Tons of power. So Haley, the story of this round, look at this. 7 out of 9 holes. She birdied 0 bogeys. She started with a 3-stroke lead, and now she has extended that to 9 over Macy Velediaz. Join us for the back to see if Haley can continue to crush the field, and we will see who becomes our National Tour winner.